What up, everybody? So glad you're here. Studio with the flow back in your ear. This ain't a fantastic voice, but I'm still on the mission to see if I can get your attention. Now, I want to drop some information.
I think.
To your education. I live my life by the code of the book 600 18s in the trunk. When I'm on the street, you got.
I think I'm gonna do.
I mean, Coolio, come on.
It's been such a long time.
Such a long time. I mean, and you, first of all, trying to do the non-explicit version, because of course I don't know how people are going to feel.
That's right.
There's a whole lot of words not being said. Look at the first person.
You're right.
First hello.
Hi, bro.
What's up, brother? How are you?
And look who I reached out to, Joe. I've been very concerned.
Super concerned, Joe.
Like,
Joe, fill us in. You're good. Yes, everything's good. We've been worried. We've been worried, just so you know.
And we get nervous, and we've been traveling a lot. John, you just got back. Where'd you go?
I don't want to talk about it.
Right.
I can't talk about it. So I just got back from Tennessee, and I leave tomorrow morning for Vegas. And
are you serious right now?
Yeah. So Unleash is next week. I'm going to see family this weekend, and then I'll be in Unleash all next week. Miss Robin will be joining next week as well. So you should see all the gifts that are in our internal chat about what it's going to look like for me and Robin in Vegas. So that's a whole other hilarity. And the week after, I'll be in Washington, D.C. And the week after that, Cincinnati. I'm speaking at World at Work. And so, like, it's the season.
Listen,
it's the season.
I have been yeah, but as I took at the beginning of the year, my New Year's resolution was like, I'm not speaking, I'm not going.
Listen,
so it's been weird. You pulled me out. You're like, Jackye, you have to come. And I've been
a little bit. You've done a little bit.
Yeah.
I, on the other hand, though, am the Julia Roberts of Pretty Woman. I'm hustling up and down Hollywood Boulevard, just hustling in the high boots and the little wig.
And I'm George Clooney. If you'll do it, I'll do it. I mean, but you have bigger bills because you don't have a wife that runs like United Nations with all of that stuff. So you have to do a couple more than I do. Like I'm.
So that's just how it is. United Nations. She runs the
whole thing. Yep. Don't phone a friend on how to be a millionaire. Don't call me.
Don't.
Obviously, I'm not helpful.
Actually, I'll be very helpful. But listen, we need to do, because I know it's been a couple weeks, and I saw your special episode last week. Ooh, that was fun.
It was fun, terrifying, and fun. And then I forgot.
Terrifying.
It was terrifying at first. I was like, I have nothing to say. And then I was so glad to see Steven. And yeah, it was so nice. Like we used to do a podcast way back in the day, which seems like now forever ago. And it's funny because I laugh because he's also the webmaster of JackieClayton.com, which obviously needs to be updated.
Yes. Yeah, who is that person when I go to that website?
I met him when I started working at ERE. He runs like the awards up in the UK, and met him through all of those True events with Bill Borman and all of that. So I met him such a long time ago. And,
but it's nice that you had that time to do that with him last week. That was really cool.
It was fun. Obviously, I was too busy, and I was like, everyone was like so busy, and I was like, I don't want to disappoint our millions of fans. I'm gonna have to hop on.
We got lots of them, and Joe, by the way, I want to respond. Thank you. I'm glad that you're good, and we're not in your business. I appreciate that you've been busy. You don't owe us being here every week.
And Dion too. See, it's like a family reunion.
Tanner, Nikki's here. Good morning.
Whoop, whoop.
I know there's some other. We got a lot of voyeurs who are
voyeurs.
Lots of them.
Yeah, we find out when we go places, and then
I know. I'm like, I watch it every week.
Like literally, knows. Even people that we've known for 20 years that are like, oh yeah, I watch it every week. We're like, what?
Why don't you comment? They're like, no, I like to read what everybody else comments.
Right.
Voyeur. That's what you are. That's what.
Should we show our cups?
Yeah, let's do it. Big thank you to Team Taylor. Look at these.
Oh wait, I have to do the video.
Yeah, no. You're the mirror. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Hold
look
on.
at this. Team Taylor, thank you so much. Team Taylor, by the way, is an applicant tracking software, if you're not familiar with them. Big over in Europe. I think in
They're
the
huge in Japan.
Nordic countries. Honestly, I want to say like Denmark, Sweden. I'm serious. Finland. You think I'm making stuff up. I am not. Because I said Nordic. We can't.
That was the most hilarious, like literally.
We have to use these words. Come on.
They're in Eurasia. Like, what are you doing? I understand what you're saying.
I have not heard Eurasia in, honestly, it's got to be
Since you've
40
heard
years.
Nordic.
Nordic, I've heard more. Remember, there was Nordic Track.
Yes, I remember Nordic
product.
Track, and there
Huge
are
product.
some lovely Nordic countries: Denmark, Finland. I get it. Iceland,
Team Taylor
Norway.
started. It's based in
Does that include Minnesota?
Yes, Josh. It does, Josh. It includes Minnesota. Hey, Jess is here as well. Laura, good morning, everybody. We are glad. Honestly, Team Taylor, like, these are awesome. Thank you.
These are
so much
so
for
great.
these.
I love it. I love
We
it
love
so much.
this so much. So thank you for
thank
thinking
you.
of us. Thank you, Team Taylor. Give a huge shout out again, Team Taylor.
Team Taylor.
I love the name too because it's so my people come from a small village called Philadelphia, and so like I'm old school. Like in the 70s, we used to, like, there was the Italian shoe store that you would go to and buy all your shoes. Murray was the guy that we had to buy our shoes from. And there was a tailor that you had to go to, right, to get everything altered and all. And like that, we had a meat shop, butcher that you went to. We had our corner grocery store. We had our corner drugstore. Like, we didn't go to big box anything. Everything was localized, right? So every time I see this Team Taylor, I just think of the little tailor shop, frightening paneled walls, dark as could be, and getting your
smelled like cigarettes.
Yeah,
every time I hear about it, when I see a tailor, true story, a couple weeks ago, didn't have my glasses on, and I get a text message, and I had gotten some measurements, and someone said, "Hey, I read, what's your waist size?" And I was like 30 inches, and they said, "Wrist," like it's in all caps, really big, like wrist. Like if your wrist is 33 inches, you need to go to the hospital. And I was like, "I'm sorry, I didn't have my glasses on." And it was just so funny because I could feel them yelling at me. Like, they're like, "What's your wrist measurements?" And I'm like 33, and they're like in all caps.
I can't pick up my arms. I mean, your arms would be so heavy if you had 30-inch wrists. You would never be able to lift them up.
Right.
I mean, right? Like,
dumb. And I don't know. I couldn't
I shouldn't laugh. Somebody may have 30-inch wrists. Honestly, I shouldn't laugh, but that would be difficult.
We should have them on the show.
That would be difficult. I was monstrously obsessed with particular diseases when I was like in middle school. Me and a couple of other guys, like, because we had library time to go to like remember the old.
I'm so glad you're back. Otherwise, we'd be completely off the rails.
I mean, this isn't off the rails. It's completely
disease. Where is it? The diseases in Nordic countries.
You all remember going to like having library time and going to the encyclopedias, right? And they had all the overlays. Like, it was big time. There's like transparency overlays so you could see the nervous system, circulatory system, respiratory system, and you would have these overlays, of course, the reproductive system, so I could see, female anatomy, the healthy stuff. And it was like legal porn. And so you could look at all this stuff. And then we started to like go down this rabbit trail of disease. And you're looking at all these pictures of like elephantitis and all that. I mean, we would spend hours like, oh my gosh, because from an exposure standpoint, I never saw anybody like that. And they had all these pictures in the encyclopedia, right, Joe? Joe knew right away, put elephantitis, knows exactly what I'm talking about. Do you
remember that guy that used to go around with the bodysuit and he used to be like, "Hey, la la la." It was like on like, it was kids TV. Was his name Mr. Body or something? I know my brother who's here will remember. There was a guy and he used to show up. I'm going to find out.
Show up like at your house in a bodysuit?
No, like on Channel 13. And he'd be like, his name was Slim Goodbody.
I do remember Slim.
Google it.
You are terrifying. We both, honestly, you all, if you are with us at a conference, sit with us at 2 a.m. somewhere in the
Listen.
hotel lobby. We're going to go through all the Slim Goodbody.
Or 2 p.m. in the middle of a boring session.
No offense to anybody whose sessions.
No offense to anybody, but sometimes I have ADHD. And so what can I do?
This is, I mean, Joe, I miss you so much when you're not around. I so have your number. I mean, I'm so easy to peg. It's so easy.
Well, if you look at, I hope everybody went through a little bit of memory name and understood about Slim Goodbody.
Slim Goodbody. Look it up. It will change your life.
It'll change your life.
I forgot all about Slim Goodbody. You are awesome. Thank you for that. I'm so excited.
And I think a majority of people have, because the character came out in 1975.
It was a good time for me.
In 1980, it was when it was a show.
I mean, 75. Whoa, oh, my goodness. I used
TJ, we went to an 80s party. Did you see? Some of y'all seen them. I posted
yes,
a
I
picture
saw.
online.
You two looked super great.
Thank you. We felt it.
And someone felt some sort of way about Todd's t-shirt. Who posted something about?
Yeah, somebody was like, I thought I had all the I don't know. It was like,
I don't remember who it was.
It was an 80s party. And our son, it was his girlfriend's mother's birthday party. And it was like, hey, y'all were born in the 70s. Tell me what that was like. And I was like, dude, I was up until age 7. Because he was trying to ask what he should wear for the 80s party. Even
be like, yeah, you want, let me wrap you up in Zeev Cavaricci's, right?
That's right.
I mean,
you try to walk in some parachute pants.
Try to do that. You try to have to pee in Zeev Cavaricci's. You have 58 buckles to undo before you can get to the urinal. It ain't a pretty time.
Jim D'Amico. Yes. Goodbody used to show up on Captain Kangaroo.
Captain Kangaroo. Jim, I think you're right. Good morning, Jim. I do think you're right. I remember that. I remember Slim Goodbody, but I have vague pictures. I got to look it up after we're done so I can sort of remember.
And we need to talk to you. I think you should have a cruise for John and I. We could have a cruise show. We just invite our friends.
Listen, you know how they do like the 80s cruise, like they
that's
do
what I'm
80s
saying.
Cruise or 70s cruise. What if they did a But First Coffee cruise?
That's right. We can invite different things, but like coffee, different pastries that go with coffee. We can have breakfast for dinner.
Mixology classes, right?
I love that. Mudslides. We can have, things
Jim,
that go
honestly, don't oversell it though. Let's do a small ship because I'll feel nervous otherwise. Absolutely, let's do it.
Every time, let me tell you, I've known Jim D'Amico for years. We met for the first time last year. And for years, I'd always be like, oh, he's got really cool recruiting stuff. He has really cool tips. Literally in the past year, I'm like, Jim, cruise. I think he'd be happy to do that. His brand.
He said, let's do it.
Brand.
I'm telling you. Look, Nikki Russell's in. I'm going to tell you something right now. If Nikki Russell says yes to this, we may have another 12, 15 people who are like immediately yes.
We want a percentage, and every song sung, we need licensing.
I'm telling you. First of all, Josh Rock is going to do some of the mixology. He's bringing his Zima. He still has
a grape Jolly Rancher in the Zima. Do you remember that?
He still has Jolly Rancher. Yeah, he still has them. Cases in his basement.
Shut up.
Cases in his. But when he saw they were going out of stock, he bought cases of them. My man had his groove on.
They were so good.
Oh my gosh. Oh, Joe. I mean, if we could do the cruise, I mean, if Kathy Lee could do like morning inspirations with us on this ship, I may cry every single morning if Kathy Lee Gifford is on there.
I think
Richard Simmons ain't looking too good, Joe. I hate to tell you. I just saw he ain't doing no sweating to the oldies now.
He is not sweating to the oldies. He's sweating though a lot. Sweating a lot. The oldies, the newies.
He's sweating though. He's sweating.
Ooh, Lord.
Oh my gosh. This is hilarious.
Well, I do want to say, based on topic, everybody who has been following along, y'all know I'm hiring this VP of salesperson, and I've been going through, and I'm glad, this is why this topic struck such a chord with me. I've literally, unfortunately, when we had to do layoffs it made everything fall into my lap. And so we were trying to do all of these things at the same time. And I really needed focus. Everybody knows when you have that position of sales, it's the most important job in your company. Yeah. Really, really focus. Over 1,000 resumes. I literally spend more time than the average recruiter. I want everybody to just imagine. We know what the average time is. Just say 1 minute. Just pretend it's 1 minute per resume, which we know on average it's much less than that.
Yeah.
Let's just pretend it's 1 minute per resume. Giving myself credit because I know I take more time than that. How many hours is that? And I can't tell you how many people have applied more than one time. And when I use Greenhouse, any Greenhouse people, put it in the chat, put a 1 in the chat, put a clap in the chat, put a praying hands. Did you know this is a praying hands? It's supposed to be like high five.
I think that I don't like that. It's too like, I don't know.
That's anyway,
yeah.
Greenhouse. So when you go on Greenhouse, it's like previously rejected. Like they don't even say, oh, this could be a duplicate applicant. They're like, nope, you already said
no to this one. Yep.
You already said no. So and trying again.
I was asked this week about it, right? So the reason we're talking about this for both of us, right, is because we're doing work in this capacity. And then I also was specifically asked about what does it look like? What do I think it looks like to employers, right? Not just Humoriso or not just Textio, but across the board. What do we think it looks like when someone applies multiple times to the same role? I'm not saying the same day where they like accidentally submit twice. That's not what we're talking about. But over a period of time, submits for consideration more than once. Is that a negative? Are we annoyed by their applications? Do we take it as a positive? Like, my gosh, they're really interested in this role. Let's really take a look at it.
My first instinct was like, oh, hell no. But then I realized it's been open for a while. So they could have thought they haven't heard anything back. You know, if I reject candidates, I send something to every single candidate. If I haven't, then it's like you're still under consideration, but we're going through the process, right? If it goes, and I see, at first I got really frustrated, but then I had to realize, okay, let me talk about what I can control and what's my part in this. Right. And I realized I haven't been giving feedback in a timely manner. I could say, hey, I wanted you to know I did get your resume. We already know the one that automatically comes, but I could have personally sent it. I ate too much for one person, which is why I'm like waiting and trying to do things in bulk if I can. So I think that in fairness, there's a lot of people looking for a job. If they haven't heard back within 30 days, I think it's okay. But I would appreciate a caveat if that says, hey, just check in, haven't heard back. But the people that have been rejected,
yes,
that affects me in some kind of way. Because it tells me they're either trying to get around or they changed it for like an ATS purposes. But majority that I've seen only in my case is that they're going through again. And they are making the assumption that a computer is looking for their resume.
Yes.
Because they've changed the whole thing. And I'm like, I know.
Which isn't a bad expectation though, Jackye.
No.
To be fair. I mean,
people are chaining them, but the truth is not many people have a full automated system. It's just not good enough yet.
Yeah.
It's coming though.
Yes.
Don't get it twisted. In the next 5 years, I predict.
I'm sure. I think 5 years might even be
there's some now, but I mean, they're not worth.
I'm curious with Laura. Thank you, Laura, for jumping in about that. The fact that your ATS doesn't allow the same email address to apply for the same position. So let me follow up to that one. Is that per open role? Meaning, you post for this VP of sales role, and if that email address has already applied once, forever, as long as that position is open, they can never apply again. Is there a timeliness to it? In other words, if that role is still open 45 days later, do they get to reapply? Is there any way that someone can be, resubmit for reconsideration? And then the other thing I would say, and this is really broader, what do we feel about someone who's applying for multiple positions at the same time within your company, right? Like, the same person, you have 6 roles open and they've applied for 3 of them because they think that they can handle these 3 positions and they want to get in with your company. Is that a negative for you when you see the same person doing it?
I actually, the ones that I do get really interested in are the ones that's been a couple of years.
Look at Mark. I mean, good morning, Mark. I love
Mark.
That. After that, WTF.
By the way, the next time one of us is gone, Mark Fogel is in to fit the spot. He sent me a text last week. But it's so true. It's so true. But I do like looking at candidates where it's been a number of years, and it was for a VP of sales a couple of years ago when it was open, because maybe they did gather the experience, or it was just a timing issue. I'm appreciative of that. What freaks me out is when somebody applies to be customer success, software engineer, CFO.
Yeah, that's a negative, right? For you, you're like, you don't know what you want to be.
That's right.
Could you not take that as, and I'm playing the devil's advocate, right? Could you not?
The devil don't need no advocates.
I mean, this is true, actually. Could you not take that as they really want to get into Textio, or they really want to get into Humoriso, and they don't care what avenue, they just
and I really want to get into Valentino Fashion Week, and sending an email every week is just not going to get it.
First of all, I want to say I think it's going to happen this year for you. I just going to say it. I just think it's going to happen.
I don't know. They got a new back designer. That's another show. That's after. That's like Last Cocktails. We'll have a special edition.
We need to do some sort of like runway model show for like charity or something with a whole bunch of like HR and TA people.
Chico's, Old Navy.
HR people, the Bonton. I mean, it is like,
Skechers.
I'm telling you right now.
Love all of you.
This one you can at me. I don't care.
Yeah.
If the Bonton owes any success it has to HR people, I'm just going to say it right now. You know I'm telling the truth. I'm telling the truth. Don't you laugh at me. I
just bought a shirt, by the way, and it says, "Can I be Frank?" Which cracks me up for 2 reasons, because I'm a dork and I'm like, my name's not Frank. And then the other one, it's like, do I really need a shirt? The only people who will get it are those about, us, all of us right here. But anyway.
But there's part of me that, I will be honest, when I see someone apply to multiple roles within the same organization, I agree with you. Like, what do you want to be when you grow up? Sort of sets in. I understand, like, you're all over the place, but I do look then to say, my gosh, they really want to get into this company. What is it that their background really is? Let me look at their resume for a minute before I reject them from being CFO and software engineer at the same time. I get that. But what is it that they're good at? Could I store and notate within my applicant tracking system this resume for a particular role that would be more in line with their skill set, because they're already showing me they have a passion for the vision of what we're trying to accomplish. I can appreciate that.
Here's the problem. This is what you need to remember. Have you heard of lazyapply.com?
No.
Honey.
What is that?
Lazyapply.com will take your lazyapply.com will take your information. It'll build you a resume, and it will apply to thousands of jobs on your behalf. It applies for jobs on your behalf.
So you don't even ever look at the actual job.
You don't even know. And last week, listen, let me tell you what else. So there was a candidate, and I don't know if it also customizes resumes per position.
Okay.
Which it'll happen. Like none of this is like this is it. There's something that does that right now.
It's called ChatGPT and stuff. I mean, I can pop my resume in there and say, take this and make X.
Like that. Absolutely.
Yep.
So, I mean, I'm not mad at anybody, but what I get mad at is when I call the guy, right? I'm working with a group of people that are helping me out. They reach out to the guy and he's like, I'm not sure. I need the weekend. No, motherfucker, you applied for this job.
But he has no idea that he applied for this
No.
job.
So he's like, I'm not really sure. You're not sure. I'm definitely not sure.
I'm correct. Now I will tell you that's really interesting. Now I know that some of you.
Hi, David Noe.
I know. Good. I was going to say that. Good morning, David. Indeed. Now listen. I know Indeed is probably more popular than LazyApply.com, but I'm going to tell you some people. You know this. That comes to their phone and says, "Ooh, these 3 jobs came up today. We think you'd be good for it. Click here to apply." You may pay attention enough to see the job title, but you never have to actually open the job itself to see what's required or anything. And how many people just hit apply, and then we call and they're like, "Wait, which company was this?" And they're fumbling real quick to just try to find something because they have no idea that they really applied to this company. In
That's
this role.
That's right.
That
the
shouldn't be
thing is that is people. I mean, because I think people. You're gonna at me. I think that people are getting lazier.
What? How dare you?
I don't think it's true that people are like, now that I don't have this to do, I'm going to develop other skills. I do not think that's happening. And so at that point,
we have lots to say about that.
Right. Like when you get an email, at least when it starts bouncing back, you should start looking it up. P.S. My sister and I went and take a class last week we went and took this, there's a place in Austin, which is like beautiful. And we want to go to Big Bend. Big Bend is the national park downtown.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So this is like, before you go to Big Bend, we met all these other hikers and I pulled out my lip gloss and I'm like, if anybody talks about my lip gloss, I'm going to punch him in the throat. And I thought she was going to die. I was looking all like with my North Face and my bucket hat, looking very like I fit in, and I pulled it out. She was like, "Oh my God, like I think you need to wear chapstick for like hiking." And I was like, "Absolutely not." And if anybody says something, I'm punching them in the throat.
And what is that brand, by the way?
Yves Saint Laurent.
I thought it was a YSL. First I saw that.
Honey.
Listen, we're bougie here.
But the thing is, we want to look good.
My EOS. Wait.
Yeah.
At
there
some
you go.
Somewhere, right? Yeah.
But that's delicious. Let's all talk about it. Like I wish there was something that tasted like the EOS.
But every time I open it, I'm like, it's just too big. It's
really big and it looks kind of like a lychee.
Oh, it does. And it kind of tastes like it though.
It does.
So a little bit. I think that,
Heather's got plenty to say.
Y'all listen, that won't all fit in here. So if I share it, but this chat, by the way, keep adding your perspective to these things. And by the way, respond to one another too, because I see Laura and Nikki are having a little conversation. Like this is important because I think here's the other thing I was thinking. We have a limited number of people.
That's the thing. People are like, we're not hiring, so we don't need any recruiters. So they're like, okay, I have to get rid of my team. I get it.
Yep.
I'll get rid of my team. Why am I getting 5,000 applicants?
I mean, Dion knows you.
Dion totally remembers the story of my daddy saying, "You like nice things."
You like that? Oh, I know that story too. And Dion, he wasn't wrong. Pray for her executive producer daily because that man is trying to make it happen all the time.
I'm still cracking up when somebody is like met me and when you meet me and John, when you see me and John together, it's like a given. But then like when we were at Workhuman, people see me and John and Todd together. They're like, "Ooh, I wonder what that's like." When it was like cracking me up. It's just cracking.
Ain't no throuple here, y'all.
That's what we said. That's why I was like, "Oh yeah, we're a throuple."
Yeah.
No, but it was just funny because people are always like,
"No." I would say that first of all is not my vibe. I'm not a throuple kind of guy.
Now seeking brother husband. No?
I mean, and Jackye, we're like siblings.
Worse than siblings. We're
Worse,
like twins. We're like identical. Like we speak the same language. We're like identical.
Which is
twins.
why I think Todd and I have a little bit of attraction happening. It's a
It's
weird
also
situation.
it's also why Todd doesn't step in, because he's like, I can't talk to him either. I know that both.
No.
It's not
No.
going to work. Like he
No.
knows he's
He
getting
usually
ganged up on.
thanks me. He's like, thank God. Go ahead, speak her language. I'll be back in an hour.
He's like, someone go over here with normal people.
When we were together last, he was like, I'm gonna go get a haircut. I was like, my gosh, what does that mean? He's like free to go get a haircut.
That's right. He's like, oh, thank God, Trace.
Self-care.
Tag, you're in.
Self-care.
Right. And what did we say? Okay, bye.
Bye. See you later. I mean,
that was a good show, by the way. Anyway, back to Heather.
And yes, we're going to share, but I'm going to just comment, Tanner. Yes.
Absolutely. My husband is.
By the way, it is equal opportunity. I refer to mine as executive producer as well.
That's right. That's right.
He has never watched this show because she is terrified that she'll be mortified, and she pretty much, it's a guarantee, so she knows not to do it. So
that's right.
I mean, true. I mean, it's true.
I mean, I think he tries, but
yes. So I totally agree with Heather, right? Because there are people who are, if you've been looking online, and especially on the TikToks, if you're watching some TikTok videos about those that are job seekers, you are listening to them tell stories about the thousands of jobs that they have applied to. It is true. They have, but it's not really.
They were qualified for 3 of those.
Yes.
To be clear.
Yes.
And I get so frustrated, and recruiters, and don't at me. Out of those 1,000 people, 250 of them are cisgender white males that will also hit me up on my LinkedIn InMail and say, I'm perfect for this job. I'll look at the resume, and they're like, I do sales at a towel company. I do sales in retail. I do that. And I have a VP role for a software company and a startup for SaaS. Like, it's really specific. And I know that's why I'm saying it's only bad. Today, it's the worst for lazy apply. It's getting smarter. Yeah. But as of today, it's not ready. They're just not ready.
First of all, the fact that a towel company is the first thing you think of, what is happening upstairs? Why is a towel company the first thing you think of?
Because I bought some bath sheets, like you have towels and then you can buy bath sheets.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
And we were just talking about my executive producer, and he calls them bath tarps.
Well, it's partly because your executive producer is like 101 pounds soaking wet. And so anything seems like a tent around him.
So we just started talking about it. So I said, VP of towels.
And by the way, Heather, I want to make sure I share this. First of all, Heather, love this in terms of due diligence on your part. You said you haven't even applied to 500 jobs, because I'm taking that to mean in these 16 months, you're really looking at the jobs that are being sought. And you're reading the job description, you're reading the duties and responsibilities.
And when they call you, who called, and you're looking at the company. I will say in 16 months, I would look to see if I need to apply at more places. Like, there is the thought process, don't be perfect.
Correct.
But then also just don't be unqualified, right? And when I say unqualified, I mean
unqualified.
I'm looking for someone with software experience, and they're like, I've never had software experience.
Listen, I post for at Humoriso for like a while back, a senior HR administrator, and it said minimum 2 years, I think it was, of HR experience. Literally, I have people, it's the knockout question. Do you have 2 years of this kind of HR experience? No, they'll answer no. And then continue to apply. And I'm like, Lord, what do you think is going to happen when you answered no here? Like, it's more of a senior role in administration. You can't know anything like that for this.
Especially since we have people who are applying. When there are questions upon applying for a job, fill them out, because even if it's not applicable or prefer not to answer.
Yes.
Because I know you've gone through the process. Because if I ask, like, especially I run DEIB, so I'm asking for people's pronouns. If you don't add your pronouns and it says like you didn't choose prefer not to answer, when I'm talking to you, I I don't know how to address you, and it makes me feel some kind of way.
Yeah.
If you don't want to answer, just say prefer not to answer.
And if I get on the phone with you, then maybe you want to tell me in person.
Right.
Fine.
Or don't lie. If I say, do you live in one of these 9 states? It doesn't mean that it's a knockout, but then they'll put yes and then say, oh, I live in it. Don't do that.
Right. Well, I'm thinking of moving. First of all, I'm not here to help you with some of that. I do want to make sure though, my gosh, we've got a lot of stuff happening in the chat. Heather and Daniela, can you please put your LinkedIn profile link in this chat along with what you're looking for?
What kind of jobs you're looking for?
I took both of you saying, I think I'm under, if I'm wrong, please, by the way, Heather or Daniela, please correct me.
Anybody can. If you're looking for a new role, put the link to your LinkedIn or say, let's connect, the role you're looking for, title, remote or in person.
This is, look, and Josh Rock sharing his dating profile, spray and pray. This is what this man does when he tries to find somebody.
Anybody.
It's spray and pray.
Oh, look, Steven.
No worries about being late. Don't worry. It is, I think, incumbent upon us. By the way, in gathering some of this data, one of the things that I was asked, I told you this came up this week for me. One of the things I was asked was about literal metrics. John, are there metrics around how often a candidate might apply to a particular company for a role before they stop applying to that company? And I really did look for a while. I could not find anything that was being measured in that regard.
That's interesting.
And I think that might be interesting as well, because part of it really can be reflective on the company to say stuff we talked about before in the sense of how long does it take to respond even to the application itself, or beyond just the default, hey, we're in receipt of your application and we'll be in touch. How long are those things taking, or if they're happening at all, and does that correlate to why someone stops applying for roles within your organization? Yeah. So I couldn't find, if anybody knows any data like that, I would be curious because I couldn't find anything. Or the same thing with the multiple applications. Does someone applying for a role multiple times influence one way or the other whether they're going to be considered? So I couldn't find anything on that either, and I looked all over the place. I know how to.
And what stinks is like, oh look, Rachel Kitty Couples is here. Rachel Kitty Couples knows. Yes. We at Textio have people that really love Textio, and there have been. We try to do courtesy. But there's been people where we're like, we're never going to have a role for this person. We really appreciate it.
Yes.
But if we do, I would hope that we could stay in touch. Unfortunately, a lot of people have abused that.
Yes, 100%. And some of it too is like, and by the way, Josh Rock, you ain't getting this role, so you can just.
He's trying to push me out the seat.
No, he's pushing me out of the seat. He feels some sort. I'm going to see him at Unleash next week, and so we'll be having.
Well, he's got a Motorola phone. That's all I know.
That flip phone ain't the new flip phone. He's got old school, no camera. I mean, it's bad when you see this phone this guy carries around. Jess, if you are still on here, can you please jump in and comment? It's bad. My man is like circa 2007. Help this person. Thank you, Tanner and Daniela. I'm seeing everybody. Heather, good. Drop what you're looking for.
My best girlfriend said that the other day, by the way. It was like, look, nobody can join our club unless they have an iPhone. And I almost peed myself because, you get on the chat and everybody uses all the stuff. They're like, wait a minute. If anybody wants to be our friend, they have to have an iPhone.
Always the one. He's always the one. Any group chat he's involved with me, always the one.
That's right.
And by the way, Dion, I see also that you shared that I think it's Bonterra is hiring as well. So please do, check out that careers page to see if there's something that aligns. But let me ask this. I want to know, do you think that the multiple applications winds up making someone feel that they have a connection with the person who's doing the hiring? So if they hear from Jackye 3 and 4 times saying, thanks so much for applying at this time, we're moving forward with other candidates. Do you think people are starting to believe that they have a connection to you because they've gotten 3 or 4 emails from you?
Have a connection, feel like they have a connection to me anyway, just because I'm online. So there's people who have been like,
well, both of us, like the LinkedIn messaging.
Yes. And Let me tell you, that is so odd. Like when all of a sudden we've been talking for an hour and there's like, if there anything else that you want to share, and they say, oh yeah, I'm a huge fan. And then you're like, ugh.
Yeah. Yes.
Like I feel exposed all of a sudden some kind of way.
But if they just say I'm a huge fan and love watching you, I mean that's all sweet. Honestly,
it is very sweet.
Very sweet. But then if you follow it up with like, hey y'all, I need a job. Can you help me? And you're like, oh wow. Like we don't know everything in terms of who's hiring and that sort of stuff.
We try so much.
We do try.
The other part is though, when I went out of my way, and I love, besides the fact that I love Rachel Kitty couples, but some of these stories I know people won't believe, but Rachel remembers. When we were looking for our head of HR, I was very specifically given handwritten responses to every single candidate. And people were like, you can't do that, Jackye, because it's going to take you too long. And I was like, I know, but I was giving because everybody who was applying is a potential customer. I needed them to know exactly and not feel some kind of way. And I got 4 responses of people saying, I don't think you really wrote this.
Oh, yes, I remember that.
I'm going to call the FCC because of you using AI practices. And I was like, motherfucker, nobody said anything about my thank you to apply computer that's been responded for years and years.
Yes. Oh, I like that. Yes.
Yes. It's kind of my Southern mint julep. It's a mixture of Katharine Hepburn.
Yes, it's a little Hepburn. Yeah.
And
it's like a Betty Davis edge.
And You like that?
It's good. That's a good one.
I think it's something about this like warm vanilla, this hand cream that makes me feel some kind of way.
Ooh.
I know.
Warm vanilla buttercream. See now.
They were having a sale.
I can't even say it. I'm going to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Please don't.
I won't. There's my filter works sometimes. I'm not 100% my mother yet.
Your mother will be proud.
No, she wouldn't. She'll say it. I feel it's been interesting for me through my career. I was much more, and I'm going to say this a certain way. I haven't given this a lot of thought in terms of how I would say it, so give me a second. But I feel like I was much more emotionally moved and responsible earlier on in my career. So when people would apply for roles, it was a little different early on in my career. Like people were still coming by and dropping off resumes and that kind of stuff as well. So it was a little more personal that sometimes I would actually see the people who were stopping by to say, I'm interested in a role here.
That's right.
And so I felt more responsible, emotionally connected to things. I will tell you through the years, because of how much is online, of course, that you really are disconnected from some things. You can be super dismissive very quickly, like, nope, right, to move on. And I want to be careful. I'm not saying there's a percentage to this, but I want to be careful to say in my brain, this is still a person. This is a person who needs a job.
That's right.
And so I don't want to be so mechanical about it that I'm like, boy, you applied 4 times to this company. I don't.
Well, that's what I want to say. Like, and it's not like John said, it's not if it's like one after another. Like if you get 4, then you know that, and we've all done it. What's wrong with my computer? Oh, yes, we've all done it.
Yes.
But the thing that is concerning, and that's why, like, for me, I do try, if I see a resume more than one time, to get really specific feedback. Like, that wasn't a mistake. I know that I did that. But what happens is I always pause and say, is it better to write another rejection email or not do anything at all, reject and not send the email? Are they going to go back? And then I don't know, did it go in their spam? Do they not know?
Yes.
But I also think, and this is the exception, I don't mind I just applied for your role. I get those a lot. That's helpful.
I don't mind that
or I applied and I haven't heard back at this point when I've had a job that's been open for 5 months,
Uh,
it's shame on me. Go ahead. I mean,
Yep.
I will,
Yep. I'll take that too.
and
I'll
it's
take
none of
it
your
too.
business why,
Right.
but that's the way that went
But I
down.
can own that just like you, right?
I
We
can
can
own
say,
that.
I'm
That's
so
what I'm
sorry.
saying.
Yes. Yep.
It is
Yep.
not you. It is me.
It's me.
And
Right.
fully, it is us. We've been through a lot.
Yep.
So but I also find it in this day and age, especially for you and I, we are very easy to access. And so if you want to talk to Jackye or John, first of all, if you can't get me, you can always reach out to John. John has a funny way of knowing how to get in contact with me.
Right.
He's like my mom. Like when I see the text, I'm like, oh shit, I better respond or else he's gonna just blow me stuff up. Like it's literally like, oh God. If I don't, he'll call Katie, he'll call Robin, everybody will be panicked. It'll be like an hour.
Let's not, and Katie, let's not get there because, let's not go there. Let's not go there.
All y'all, they go into full panic
Let's not
mode.
go there. Because that she wants to know, and then I get cursed at. I'm like, well, first of all,
right.
What is happening? I feel like part of the problem for some of us is with multiple applicants is we sort of treat it as I have a right to say to you, you're wasting my time. And I think we have to be careful about that because the day may come that I'm on the other end.
That's right.
Wasting someone's time. Listen, I am not independently wealthy. I despite what you think about me and or Jackye, we are not independently wealthy. I mean, I know she's doing, YSL lip gloss. I want to tell you that was in Marshall's on the way out the door in the bin.
That's right. To be clear. This is the clear
yeah. Listen,
it was in the grab bag.
It's the absolute truth.
To be clear.
To be very clear. We're not now. So I'm always thoughtful about I may be on that other end. And I think if you're going to stay in some way, shape, or form involved with talent acquisition, the multiples we need to look at contextually.
That's right.
I'm not saying that there aren't people who are annoying as all get out. I've had the person who applied every other day for the same job. Stop. You're putting yourself in a bad light. Even if you are qualified, I don't want to hire you now because you're so annoying.
That's
right. And I get that. But we can't legislate to the extreme. And I think sometimes we have to be thoughtful about that, right? Like,
is it part of your culture? That's the thing that you also have to remember. It's about your company principles. If being persistent is one of your company principles, then you need to talk to this guy, right? If one of your principles is continuous follow-up or winning at all costs, you need to talk to this candidate, right? It's not your place. You can get annoyed, but that could be the person you're looking for.
And you don't always know the whole story though, right? Like
that's right.
When you say you don't know. So I'm going to give you a story that I heard this morning. Earl, I was talking to a friend of mine. So this is awesome in terms of context of the economy. I don't shop at Restoration Hardware. It's not that I don't shop at Restoration Hardware because I feel some sort of way about there. I don't shop at Restoration Hardware because I don't want to take out a loan for what it is that I need to get there. It's expensive. I don't care what anybody. I think it's expensive. Now there's a clientele for that.
That's right.
So they will have roles like any other company who might be in distribution, if they are doing some of their own manufacturing of some of their product as well, which they have their own line. They might have evergreen roles up all the time. They're always looking for certain warehouse roles or something like that. And sometimes we look at that as an applicant and think they can't find anybody they want. I keep applying, but they're not hiring for me. The problem could be that they have obviously limited openings, but they don't want to take the job down because tomorrow 2 people can just quit, no notice, because that can be what happens, right? But the other thing is that there are things happening geographically within organizations. So there are companies that are relocating within the US certain types of work distribution and manufacturing being those two areas that I think are happening the most, where they're trying to get out of certain jurisdictions that they're in because of the expense of operation, and they're moving it to another place in the country to cut costs. So now that evergreen role all of a sudden becomes applicable in, my good old fashioned go-to Sheboygan, and it was an active role in San Francisco, and they're trying to cut costs and get out of California and go somewhere else. So your application of that role, don't let it limit you from applying again, because the context of what they're looking for could have changed dramatically. So
you're adding new skills as you go along the way, right? Like maybe you got a different certification, or you didn't have SaaS experience, but now you do have SaaS experience. And I do recommend that when you're applying, and especially those roles that have 4 requirements, just point out those 4 requirements, because understand, like I said, I had to hand reject over 1,000 candidates. Sometimes John was laughing at me. Sometimes it was like, I require that people have experience B2B and SaaS.
Yes.
I don't have time to look up every company to figure out if it's B2B or SaaS. If you don't tell me it's B2B or SaaS, I will do one search. And if it goes up on Google and says, we sell sponges, to one client at a time, I'm rejecting the email.
Correct.
I'm rejecting the resume.
We do bad speeds.
The thing is, I think that on the flip side, if you're working TA, it's not just empathy. It's just that respect level will set your company apart from the others. For sure.
Listen, and we still have, the numbers have not really changed when it comes to the types of people who will apply. The numbers still say on a bullet list of 10 requirements for a job, qualifications that you need to have for a job, non-military men, 2 to 3 of those bullet points out of 10, they're going to hit apply. They're going to apply. Non-military female, 7 of those 10 before they'll hit apply. Military personnel, those that are coming out of military background, coming back into mainstream, 9.6 technically is what it is. Almost all 10 before they hit apply. So we may get the repetition of certain people that are comfortable with 2 or 3 that I meet and keep hitting apply, and miss out on, let's say, a military background person, a service background, who would do really well, but because the way in which the job description or job ad is written, they're only seeing 8 out of the 10, and they're like, shoot, they're not going to hire me because I don't have these other 2 things. We're still responsible for the way in which we push that out in order to help those people feel comfortable to apply even once.
Let me tell you something horrific that happened this past week. Again, I'm at the YMCA. I take a swim class. There's a nice gentleman on Saturdays that is also doing laps for swimming. We start talking about life and work and whatever, and Baylor and everything. I tell him about the work that I do, and I was, being inclusive, and he was like, what are you trying to do to be inclusive? And I was like, oh, well, and I just kind of threw some different things out there. And I was like, veterans. And he literally said, oh, I won't hire any veterans. Literally looked me in the face, didn't blink, didn't stutter, had no qualms of telling me.
In Texas?
Yes. In
Did he give you a reason?
2024. Because they're angry.
Well, they are now.
Well, that didn't help. I was floored.
I cannot believe that.
And that's why, another reason why people are still thinking like that. You do have to be empathetic and understanding. And it's also why we need DEIB class. I mean, I don't think I'm going to say it on every show. The fact that people are taking this out and trying to get rid of people in HR when humans are struggling more now than ever.
I cannot believe what a response.
I mean, I almost drowned. I was in the pool.
And I mean what I said about Texas. I mean, especially there, right?
Right.
Like there's such a love.
And you know what he did?
for-
You know what he
for
did?
military.
He owned country clubs. He owned the clubs. So who is he hiring for? Golf pros, bartenders, maintenance.
Listen, we you know, at Humoriso, we support the PGA,
Yeah.
the sections across the country. I can't tell you how many people come from a service background that are involved there, and really, and you know, the skill sets that they bring really are helpful to the procedural components,
right.
operational components for
That's
those
right.
courses.
Especially because those courses are so specific. You have to be so methodical, and you
Yes.
have to be
Yes.
because you know those when you see those greens, they didn't get that way on their own. They don't grow like that.
Right. And I have to tell you, they'll take great pride in what
That's
it is that they've been able to do. What a silly response.
Could
We don't
not
live in a
believe it.
world in any way, shape, or form that we can exclude a group of people so like summarily like that. That's silly.
Right. That's why I was like, he literally just said veterans, period, in 2024.
I am well, I'm never surprised. I shouldn't say, right? We just hear all kinds of craziness from people, and it's unfortunate that.
But we're in a bubble. Let's be fair. Most of the people I talk to, we are in a bubble. It's our friends. We are very much like-minded or open to other people's. We wouldn't be blanketed, you know. We would share thoughts to have a conversation. But this was like,
I don't think it's a bad thing to make sure if you are really interested in a particular role, to do your research. I am still a fan of a cover letter with some things because exactly to your point, like I might have to give context because Jackye doesn't know that this company was a SaaS related company or B2B like you were sharing. Like that cover letter might give me some context there that I didn't know. And I'm also a fan of you being specific about the research you've done on the company. I see that you have been in business this long. I can't imagine X, Y, and Z. I know early on I had some experience in this, this, and this. Like, tell the story a little bit because some of us are big on the storytelling that goes along with it, the persona that goes along with it. And if right now isn't the time for the work that you're looking to do, I'm more apt to keep that, you know, at the ready for when something does open that is more in keeping with the skill set that you have. And I don't want to speak for you, Jackye, but you know, you talked about the LinkedIn messaging. I don't mind if someone reaches out to me on LinkedIn. I don't mind. I can't solve for all the things that people ask me about. I you know, that it has to be understood as well. But please don't not reach out because there might be
at least you're doing that thing. But also, like, I'm really nervous about this lazy apply. Ladders has added a feature called Apply For Me on Ladders. I don't know if any of y'all remember ladders.com.
I know. I mean, you're really going back between Slim Goodbody and Ladders. What are we going to talk about?
I know. Look, and they Ladders has the AI that will apply for you. And you're going to see less more people, like recruiters being less empathetic because just like people who are like, I'm just going to apply to all these jobs, they're going to be like, you're not real. Just like I couldn't believe that when I took the time to be a real person that someone accused me of not writing it. And I worked so hard.
How funny is that the default now is to think the opposite, right? It's
because I was like, and Rachel could tell you, I went through line for line. The reason you didn't like this at this company was like this, at this company you did this. I needed them to be very specific because I also wanted to prevent them from thinking if this role comes back up, this isn't the one.
Yeah.
It is Throwback Thursday.
It is. Woo!
Nikki!
We're going out. We're going out with a bang. We're going out with a bang.
Read it,
y'all. It's not all going to fit here, so you got to get into the chat to read everything
on LinkedIn.
I listen. This was an amazing time to kind of talk through these things, and I thought it was a really interesting question about multiple applications. So I don't know. I don't know how we're going to solve for some of this, especially with this like ease to apply, right? That people can do. And quite frankly, I wouldn't be surprised if there wound up being some repetition in that as well built in.
Oh yeah.
But you
also
they'll
apply on Indeed. That like people don't know how that works. I'm sorry, we're over. I could talk about this.
I know. Well, I was just going to say, so I will be at Unleash next week. So we might be able to kind of tie in some of what's happened from a technology standpoint at Unleash in our chat next week.
Yeah.
Thank y'all for being here. What a good time.
And thanks again, Team
Thanks, Team
Taylor.
Taylor. Woo-hoo.